Hi everyone, thanks a lot for your very interesting question. I'm very happy to be here to answer them. Yes, the Racer demonstrator is a high-speed demonstrator which is perfectly suitable for emergency and medical services. You can come faster to the hospital and save more lives. And then there is also other missions that are very interesting, search and rescue for instance, where we need to demonstrate hoisting capabilities. So with the Racer we can go fast to the zone, perform hoisting, and in the next flight campaign we will install a hoist within the cabin to preserve the drag of the aircraft. And with this hoist that we will deploy, we will demonstrate that we can hoist with the Racer and then save more life together with the speed. So on the 28th of April this year, during flight 20, we achieved 240 knots in cruise speed. Can we fly faster? Yes, probably a little bit. But we want to concentrate our efforts on the mission demonstration that will be part of the next flight test campaign of the Racer. At low speed, it behaves like a conventional helicopter. The rotor, the main rotor, is in windmilling effect, and we can control the descent speed with its power. At higher speed, thanks to the lateral rotors, we have a phase of 7 to 8 seconds when the aircraft is flying without losing altitude, which is very important because it gives the time to the pilot to react. And then at the end, it's more safety in general during this phase. When it comes to CO2 reduction, it's definitely the drag which is the most important parameter. We made a huge effort during the development to reduce the drag of this helicopter because it's really the most efficient way to have a low consumption. At the end, we have a very interesting results. We divided by 2.5 the drag of this helicopter, the resistance to the air of this helicopter compared to a conventional helicopter. And we are still studying it. You can see here that we have installed some tuft on the wings and on the cowling to identify the aerodynamic flow on the aircraft and during several phases in flight. And this will help us to validate definitely our models. When flying at high speed, 50% of the lift is secured by the main rotor and 50% by the double wings that we have on the side of this aircraft. Indeed, and this is the heart of our formula, simplicity. There are two engines on the upper deck connected to the main gearbox, which is transmitted the torque through a shaft located in the upper wings to the lateral gearbox, and the lateral gearbox is transmitting the power to the lateral rotors. It's a good question, and it is a challenge. It is the challenge of the high-speed version of the helicopters. In the case of the Racer demonstrator, when we fly high speed, we keep the rotor flat and we use the lateral rotors to give the propulsion to the aircraft. And it is how we manage to handle the behavior of the retreating blades of the main rotor. The Racer demonstrator is perfect for missions where speed matters. But not only, we recently demonstrated plenty of other capabilities that are very interesting for different missions. For instance, we demonstrated the capacity to land on slope up to 14 degrees nose up. We also demonstrated a very high performance in climb with high climb rates and high speed, more than the double than conventional helicopters can do usually, and the capacity to perform sharp turns at very high speed, for instance, more than 200 knots with 60-degree bank angle, which corresponds to a 2G factor. We didn't consider to mount a rotor at the end of the tail boom because it leads to extreme rear center of gravity, which jeopardizes the whole stability of the aircraft. As you have noticed, we have two lateral rotors on the Racer demonstrator, and we use the differential pitch of the lateral blades to counteract the torque coming from the main rotor. The Racer demonstrator was funded by the European Clean Sky 2 program with 40 partners in 13 countries. And the most challenging part was to coordinate the contribution of all those partners. But we turned it into our biggest strength. The Racer demonstrator is the proof of what can be achieved when European partners work together to foster innovation. It took 10 years from the very beginning of the project, a white paper, to the first flight of the Racer demonstrator. The Racer demonstrator is a helicopter, and you need a helicopter license to pilot it. More than 10 pilots already flew the Racer demonstrator. And in fact, we just provided them 30 minutes of simulator, 20 minutes briefing, and they were able to pilot 1 hour our demonstrator hands-on. So it's very easy to handle for a helicopter pilot. If you look at the details, we have a collective stick, a cyclic stick, 2 pedals for the anti-torque function, and the only command which is different from the conventional helicopter is the collective pitch of the lateral rotors. It is this command: you push it, you accelerate, you pull it, you decelerate. Thanks to its optimized drag, when the Racer demonstrator is flying at 180 knots, it consumes 25% less fuel compared to a conventional helicopter of the same weight flying at 130 knots. By the way, we are currently initiating a layup phase on the Racer demonstrator to install the Eco Mode system, which aims to demonstrate even more fuel savings. Thanks a lot for all your questions, and I hope you will stay curious about the Racer.